The space station called Harmony Prime floated in the darkness between three distant stars. It was the largest structure ever built by the Galactic Unity Council. 12 different alien species had come together to create it. They believed it was a symbol of peace and cooperation. They believed they were the most powerful beings in the universe. They were wrong. On this particular day, the Great Council Chamber was filled with delegates from every member species. The room was enormous. The ceiling rose so high that clouds sometimes formed near the top. Hundreds of floating platforms carried representatives from worlds that humans had never heard of until 5 years ago. 5 years. That was how long it had been since humanity made first contact with alien life. A small human exploration ship had stumbled upon a Valari trading vessel near the edge of the solar system. The Valari were tall beings made of living crystal. They glowed with soft blue light and communicated through vibrations that humans could barely hear. The Valari had been surprised. They had scanned Earth many times over the centuries. They had seen the wars. They had seen the weapons. They had decided that humans were too violent and too primitive to contact. But now the humans had come to them. There was no avoiding it anymore. Word spread quickly through the galaxy. A new species had achieved space travel. A species from a death world. A species that had somehow survived on a planet that tried to kill them every single day. Most council species came from gentle worlds. Worlds with stable climates and abundant food. Worlds where evolution was slow and peaceful. They looked at Earth's history and felt sick. Ice ages, supervolcanoes, mass extinctions, predators everywhere, disease, famine, and worst of all, the humans themselves who had spent most of their history killing each other. The council had watched and waited. They sent observers. They studied human behavior. And after 5 years, they had reached a conclusion. Humans were weak. Yes, they had survived their terrible world. But look at them. So small. So soft. No claws, no armor, no venom. They could not even breathe underwater or survive in vacuum. They needed to eat constantly. They needed to sleep for hours every day. They got sick easily. They died easily. The council was not worried about humanity, and that was their first mistake. Park Tae-ho stepped off the transport shuttle and onto Harmony Prime with a gentle smile on his face. He was not a tall man. He was not particularly muscular. He wore simple gray clothing with no armor and no visible weapons. His black hair was neatly combed, and his dark eyes were calm and friendly. Behind him walked his aide, a young woman named Kim Somi. She carried a small bag and a datapad. She looked even less threatening than Tae-ho. She smiled politely at every alien they passed. The Keth guards at the entrance looked down at the two humans with obvious disgust. The Keth were massive insectoid creatures. They stood nearly 3 meters tall. Their bodies were covered in thick black armor. They had 4 arms, each ending in sharp claws that could cut through metal. They were the warrior species of the Council. They had conquered dozens of worlds before joining the Alliance. One of the guards made a clicking sound with his mandibles. It was laughter. "These are the human ambassadors," he said to his companion. "They look like food." The other guard clicked in agreement. "Soft, weak. I could kill them both with 1 arm." Tae-ho continued walking as if he had not heard. His translator had converted every word perfectly. He understood exactly what they said, but his expression did not change. His smile remained warm and patient. Somi walked beside him, her eyes forward. She had also heard. She had also understood, and she had made a mental note of both guards' faces. The council chamber fell silent as the humans entered. Hundreds of alien eyes turned to look at them. Some were curious. Some were amused. Many were openly hostile. The Valari delegation sat on crystal platforms that caught the light and scattered it into rainbows. Their leader, High Speaker Morel, watched the humans with what might have been pity. Such fragile creatures. It was almost cruel to let them hope. The Moran floated in their water-filled spheres. They were jellyfish-like beings who communicated through telepathy. They reached out with their minds toward the humans, expecting to find fear and uncertainty. They found nothing. Just calm, just patience. It was strange, but they did not think much of it. The Keth delegation occupied the largest platform. Commander Vorak sat at their center. He was the greatest warrior the Keth had ever produced. He had killed thousands in personal combat. He had led armies that burned entire worlds. He looked at the humans and saw insects. Less than insects. He saw prey. Taiho walked to the center of the chamber and bowed respectfully. "Honored delegates of the Galactic Unity Council," he said. His voice was soft but clear. "I am Park Taiho, Ambassador of Earth. I come in peace to request membership in your great alliance." He spoke for nearly an hour. He talked about humanity's desire for peace. He talked about trade and cultural exchange. He talked about the scientific knowledge humans could share. He never raised his voice. He never showed anger or frustration. Even when delegates interrupted him with rude questions, "Commander," Vorak watched with growing contempt. This creature was pathetic. He had no pride. He had no strength. When a Keth warrior was insulted, he responded with violence. When this human was insulted, he simply smiled and continued talking. "Your species is weak," Vorak said loudly, interrupting Taiho mid-sentence. "You have no natural weapons. You have no armor. You cannot even survive your own planet without machines and shelters. Why should we accept prey animals into our council?" The chamber fell silent. Every eye turned to Taiho. The human ambassador paused. For just a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Something old. Something dark. But it was gone so quickly that no one noticed. "You are correct, Commander," Taiho said calmly. "Humans are not born with claws or armor. We are soft, as you say. But we have learned to survive through other means. Through cooperation, through intelligence, through patience." Vorak made a harsh, clicking sound. "Patience is the virtue of the weak." Taiho smiled. It was a gentle smile. A kind smile. "Perhaps," he said softly. "Or perhaps patience is how predators wait for the perfect moment to strike." Nobody understood what he meant. They would learn. The vote was not even close. Of the 12 council species, only 2 voted to accept humanity. The Valari abstained, unsure what to make of the strange soft creatures from the death world. The rest voted against. "The council has decided," announced High Speaker Morel. Her crystal body rang with the words like a bell. "Humanity's petition for membership is denied. You are deemed too primitive and too biologically inferior to contribute meaningfully to our alliance." Taiho listened to the decision without expression. He nodded slowly and bowed once more. "I understand. I thank the council for considering our request. Perhaps in time, you will see us differently." Commander Vorak laughed loudly. The sound echoed through the chamber like breaking glass. "In time? How much time does a prey species have? Your kind will be extinct before the next century ends. Go back to your little world, human. Hide in your caves. Pray that no one decides you are worth hunting." Other delegates joined in the laughter. The Moran pulsed with amusement. The smaller species whispered among themselves. Only the Valari remained silent, watching with their glowing eyes. Taiho turned and walked toward the exit. Somi followed close behind. Her face showed nothing, but her hand brushed against a small device hidden in her sleeve. A communicator. She pressed it once. Throughout the station, 11 other humans received her signal. They understood immediately. The mission had failed. It was time to leave. But Commander Vorak had other plans. He had waited a long time for this moment. Humans were weak, yes, but they were also spreading. Their ships were appearing in more and more systems. Their population was growing. Their technology was improving. If left alone, they might eventually become a threat. Better to end it now. Better to make an example. Vorak had spent the last 3 days making secret agreements. The Keth would not act alone. 3 other species had joined his plan. Together, they would capture the human ambassadors. They would execute them publicly. They would broadcast the execution to every corner of the galaxy. The message would be clear. Humanity was prey. Anyone who dealt with them would share their fate. Taiho and Somi walked through the long corridor toward the docking bay. The walls were smooth and white. The lights hummed softly overhead. It was quiet. Too quiet, Somi noticed first. "The guards are gone," she said softly. Taiho nodded. He had noticed too. His steps did not slow. His breathing remained steady. "How many?" he asked. Somi glanced at her datapad. A small sensor sweep revealed heat signatures ahead. 12. Keth warriors. They are waiting around the next corner. Weapons? Plasma rifles. Energy blades. Personal shields. Taiho continued walking. Anyone else? Unknown. The sensor range is limited. Itch paused. We could go back. Find another route. No. Taiho's voice was calm, almost gentle. Let them come. They turned the corner. Commander Vorak stood in the center of the corridor. He was massive. His black armor gleamed under the lights. His forearms were spread wide, each one holding a different weapon. Behind him stood 12 of his best warriors. They formed a half circle, blocking any escape, Human Vorak said. His mandibles clicked with satisfaction. "Did you really think we would let you leave?" Taiho stopped walking. He stood completely still. His hands hung loose at his sides. "I had hoped," he said, "that the Council would honor its own laws. Safe passage for diplomatic vessels is guaranteed in your charter." Vorak laughed again. "Laws are for the weak. The strong make their own rules." He stepped closer. "You will die here, human. Both of you. And your deaths will be a message to your pathetic species. Stay on your death world. Stay hidden. Or be destroyed." Somi moved slightly, positioning herself behind Taiho. Her hand was still near her communicator. She pressed it twice more. Throughout the station, 11 humans stopped what they were doing. They received the new signal. Code red, hostile contact. Prepare for extraction. In the hydroponics lab, Lee Junho set down his plant samples. He reached into his bag and pulled out a device that looked like a gardening tool. It was not a gardening tool. In the Cultural Exchange Center, Yoon Hannah excused herself from a conversation with a Valari artist. She walked calmly toward the nearest access hatch. Her fingers found the hidden weapons sewn into her clothing. In the translation office, old Choi Do-yeon smiled at his alien colleagues and announced he needed to use the restroom. Nobody paid attention to the elderly man. Nobody saw him pull a small computer from his pocket and begin accessing the station's security network. Back in the corridor, Vorak grabbed Somi by the arm. His claws dug into her skin. She did not cry out. She did not struggle. She just looked at him with calm eyes. "This one will die first," Vorak announced. "Make the male watch." Taiho's voice cut through the air like a blade. "Release her." Something had changed. The words were the same soft tone as before, but there was something underneath them now. Something cold. Something ancient. Vorak laughed. "Or what? What will you do, prey animal?" One of the Keth warriors stepped forward and struck Taiho across the face. The blow was powerful enough to kill most species. Taiho's head snapped to the side. Blood flew from his split lip, but he did not fall. He did not even step backward slowly. Very slowly, Taiho turned his head back to face Vorak. Blood ran down his chin. His dark eyes were no longer warm. They were no longer friendly. Something else looked out from behind them now. He raised his hand and looked at the blood on his fingers. Then he looked at Vorak. Then at the warrior who had struck him. Then at the claw marks on Sami's arm. "He touched her," Taiho said softly. "That was your final warning." The lights in the corridor flickered. The temperature seemed to drop. Every alien present felt something they had never felt before. An instinct buried deep in their genes. A primal fear that had no name. The feeling of being hunted. Somi stepped backward. Not because she was afraid of the Keth. She stepped back because she knew what was coming. The mask was about to come off. Vorak felt the fear too. He did not understand it. He was the greatest warrior of the Keth. He had never been afraid of anything. But something about the way this human looked at him made his heart beat faster. "What are you?" he whispered. Tahoe smiled. It was not a warm smile anymore. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of something that had finally been given permission to hunt. "I am human," he said, "and you just made a terrible mistake." The corridor lights flickered again. Then again, a deep humming sound filled the air. It was not coming from the station systems. It was coming from somewhere else. Somewhere inside the human standing before them, Commander Vorak had seen many things in his long life. He had faced enemies across 100 worlds. He had killed creatures twice his size. He had never retreated from any battle. But now, for the first time, he felt something cold crawling up his spine. The human had not moved. He still stood in the same spot with blood dripping from his chin. But everything about him had changed. His posture was different, straighter, more balanced. His breathing had slowed until his chest barely moved at all. His pupils had expanded until his eyes looked almost completely black, and he was smiling. That terrible, patient smile. One of the Keth warriors raised his plasma rifle. "Commander, should we—" He never finished the sentence. Tahoe moved. There was no warning. No sound. One moment he was standing still. The next moment he was beside the warrior. His hand shot out and struck the alien's throat. The blow was precise. Perfect. The warrior collapsed without making a sound. The other Keth opened fire. Plasma bolts filled the corridor with green light. The air burned with heat and energy, but Tahoe was not there anymore. He had already moved. He flowed through the chaos like water through rocks. Every step placed him exactly where the plasma bolts were not. Every movement brought him closer to another enemy. 2 more warriors fell. Tahoe had not used any weapons. He did not need them. His hands found the weak points in their armor. His fingers struck nerve clusters that even Keth doctors did not know existed. He moved with terrible efficiency. No wasted motion. No hesitation. High Speaker Morel watched through the security feed in the council chamber. Her crystal body had gone completely still. The light inside her flickered with fear. "What is happening?" demanded a Moran delegate. "What is he doing?" Morel could not answer. She could only watch as the human destroyed the greatest warriors the Keth had ever produced. He was not fighting them. Fighting implied some kind of struggle, some kind of contest. This was not a contest. This was a hunt. Back in the corridor, Vorak finally understood his mistake. He had thought humans were weak because they did not have natural weapons. He had thought they were prey because they looked soft and fragile. He had been looking at the wrong things. Humans did not need claws or armor. They had something far more dangerous. They had millions of years of evolution as persistence predators. They had bodies designed to outlast any prey. They had minds built to track, to plan, to wait. And they had learned to hide it all behind gentle smiles and soft words. The 6th warrior fell. The 7th. Tahoe had not slowed down at all. His breathing was still calm. His movements were still precise. He could do this for hours, days, however long it took. Vorak backed away. His forearms trembled. "What are you?" he screamed. "This is not possible. You are prey. You are prey." Tahoe paused for just a moment. Blood covered his hands now. It was not his blood. "On our world," he said calmly, "there were many predators. Lions, wolves, bears, sharks. They were all faster than us. Stronger than us. Better armed than us." He took a step toward Vorak. "They are all gone now. We ate them. We wore their skins. We turned their bones into tools. Another step. Do you know how we did it, Commander? We did not fight fair. We never fight fair. We watched. We learned. We waited. And when the moment was right, we struck without mercy." 3 more warriors tried to rush him at once. Tahoe did not retreat. He stepped into their attack. His body twisted between their claws. His hands found their throats, their eyes, the soft places in their joints. They fell in less than 4 seconds. Only Vorak and 2 warriors remained standing. The corridor floor was covered with fallen Keth. Some were dead. Some were simply broken. Taiho had been precise about who lived and who died. The ones who had hurt Somi died. The others would live to tell the story. On the other side of the station, the other humans had begun their work. Lee Jun-ho reached the Keth warship, docked at Bay 7. He smiled at the guards and showed them his botanist credentials. They laughed at him and let him pass. Why would they fear a plant scientist? 3 minutes later, the warship's engines exploded. Yoon Hannah walked through the armory like a ghost. The guards never saw her coming. She was small. She looked harmless. By the time they realized their mistake, she had already locked them in a storage room and taken control of every weapon in the station. Choi. Doyen sat in a maintenance closet with his small computer. His old fingers moved across the screen with surprising speed. One by one, the station's systems fell under his control. Doors locked. Communications jammed. Security cameras redirected. The entire station was now a trap, and the humans were the ones who controlled it. Back in the corridor, Commander Vorak made his final stand. He drew his ceremonial blade, a weapon passed down through 20 generations of warriors. He had used it to kill 1,000 enemies. He roared, "Greatest warrior of the Keth, I will not die to a prey animal." Taiho looked at him with something that might have been pity. "I am not a prey animal, Commander. I never was. None of us were." He moved forward. Vorak swung his blade with all his strength. It was the fastest strike he had ever made. It missed. Taiho was inside his guard now. His hand closed around Vorak's throat. "Not crushing, not yet. Just holding. You called us weak," Taiho said softly. "You called us primitive? You thought our kindness was weakness? You thought our patience was fear?" His grip tightened slightly. "You were wrong about all of it." Vorak struggled, but he could not break free. This small, soft human held him like a child holds a toy. "We came here offering friendship," Taiho continued. "We came in peace. We smiled and bowed and accepted your insults because we hoped you would see past your prejudice. We gave you every chance to treat us with respect." His eyes were completely black now, empty and cold. "You chose violence instead. You attacked our people. You hurt my friend." His voice dropped to a whisper. "Now you will learn what humans do to those who threaten our own." She pressed her communicator one more time. "Protocol Omega complete," she said calmly. "Station secured. All hostiles contained." She looked at Taiho. "What do you want to do with him?" Taiho considered the question. Vorak hung in his grip, barely able to breathe. "The galaxy needs to understand," Taiho said finally. "They need to see what happens when you mistake human kindness for human weakness." He smiled that terrible smile again. "Let us show them." The council chamber had descended into complete chaos. Delegates screamed and pushed against each other as they tried to reach the exits. But the doors would not open. The communication systems were dead. They were trapped inside the room they had once ruled with such confidence. High Speaker Morel tried to maintain order. Her crystal body rang with commands and pleas, but no one listened. The security feeds showed human figures moving through the station with terrible purpose. Every defensive system had been disabled. Every escape route had been blocked, and in the corner of every screen, they could see Commander Vorak being dragged through the corridors by the human ambassador. "This is impossible," whispered a Moran delegate. "How can 12 humans take control of the entire station? We have thousands of warriors here. We have the most advanced technology in the galaxy." "The warriors are contained," Morel said. Her voice was hollow. "The humans sealed them in their quarters before anyone realized what was happening. Our technology is being used against us. Someone has taken control of all our systems." "Who? How?" Morel pointed at the screen. An elderly human sat in a maintenance closet, his fingers dancing across a small computer. He looked like someone's grandfather. He looked harmless. "It's that one," she said. "He has complete access to everything. Doors, weapons, life support." The Moran delegate could not believe it, but he was introduced as a translator. He could barely walk without assistance. He was pretending. Morel said quietly. They were all pretending. On the screen, Lee Junho walked calmly through a hangar filled with disabled warships. He was whistling a tune from Earth. Behind him, Keth engineers lay unconscious on the floor. Their ships would never fly again. Yoon Hannah stood in the armory, surrounded by enough weapons to arm a small army. She was organizing them into neat piles, sorting them by type and effectiveness. She looked bored. Choi Do-yoon continued his work at the computer. Every few seconds, another system fell under his control. He was not even trying very hard. The station's security had been designed by species who had never faced true opposition. It was like a puzzle made for children, and Taiho continued his slow march toward the main hangar, pulling Vorak behind him like a hunting trophy. The Keth commander had stopped struggling. His strength was gone. His pride was broken. He could only watch as this impossible creature dragged him through his own station. Why? Vorak gasped. How are you doing this? Your species is supposed to be weak. Our studies said you were weak. Taiho stopped walking. He looked down at Vorak with those dark, empty eyes. Your studies were wrong, he said. You looked at our bodies and saw no natural weapons. You looked at our history and saw only violence and chaos. You concluded that we were primitive animals fighting to survive. He crouched down so his face was level with Vorak's. But you missed the important part. You missed the reason we survived at all. Taiho stood up and continued walking. His voice was calm, almost gentle, like a teacher explaining something to a slow student. Our world tried to kill us from the very beginning. The climate changed. The ice came. The food disappeared. Any other species would have died. But we did not die. He pulled Vorak around a corner. The hangar was visible now at the end of the corridor. He adapted. We learned to make tools from stone. We learned to make fire. We learned to work together in groups that could bring down prey 10 times our size. Vorak coughed. Prey, you hunted prey. That does not make you dangerous. Taiho smiled. You still do not understand. We did not hunt like other predators. Lions chase their prey at high speed. If they do not catch it quickly, they give up. Wolves work in packs, but still rely on quick kills. They entered the hangar. It was enormous. Ships from a dozen species filled the space. But there were no guards, no workers. The humans had cleared it all. Humans hunted differently, Taiho continued. We were not fast. We were not strong. But we had something no other predator had. Endurance. He dropped Vorak on the floor and stood over him. We would chase our prey for hours, days, weeks, if necessary. Our bodies were designed for it. We could run longer than any animal on our planet. We could walk farther. We could survive on less water and less food. Taiho's voice grew softer, more dangerous. The prey would run away. It would escape easily at first. But we kept coming. It would run again. We kept coming. It would run until its heart gave out, until its muscles failed, until it could not take another step. And we would still be there, walking slowly, patiently, never stopping. He knelt down beside Vorak. That is what humans are, Commander. We are not explosive predators. We are patient ones. We do not win through speed or strength. We win by never giving up, by outlasting everything that tries to stop us. Vorak's eyes were wide with fear now. That is just hunting. That does not explain how you fight like this. Taiho laughed softly. The hunting was just the beginning. After we killed all the animals, we started hunting each other. War after war after war. We became so good at killing that we had to invent rules to stop ourselves. He stood up and walked to a large window that overlooked the starfield outside. Every terrible thing you saw in our history, the wars, the weapons, the endless conflicts, that was us holding back. That was us trying to be civilized, trying to build something better than blood and death. He turned back to face Vorak. When we came to this council, we came in peace. We genuinely wanted friendship. We smiled and accepted your insults because we hoped you would give us a chance. His eyes were cold. But you could not do that. You saw our kindness, and thought it was weakness. You saw our patience and thought it was fear. You attacked us in the one way we cannot forgive. Somi appeared at the entrance to the hangar. Behind her stood the other human operatives, Junho, Hana, Doyen, and 7 more. They all wore the same calm expression, the same patient eyes. You threatened our people, Taiho said. You tried to use us as an example. You wanted to show the galaxy that humans are prey. He smiled one last time. Thank you. You have given us the opportunity to show them the truth instead. The communication systems throughout the station suddenly came back online. Every screen in every room showed the same image. Taiho, standing over the broken body of Commander Vorak. The greatest warrior of the Keith defeated by a single human. Attention, Galactic Unity Council, Taiho said. His voice was broadcast to every corner of the station. This is Ambassador Park Taiho of Earth. Your warriors attacked my delegation without provocation. They have been neutralized. Your station is under our control. He paused to let that sink in. Came here as friends. You responded with violence. We will not respond in kind. Your people are safe. Your station will be returned. But understand this. What you have seen today is what happens when you force our hand. His eyes looked directly into the camera. We are not prey. We never were. Remember that. Screens went dark, and throughout the galaxy, billions of beings began to understand what humanity really was. 3 days had passed since the incident on Harmony Prime. The galaxy had not been the same since Commander Vorak lived. Taiho had been very careful about that. A dead martyr was dangerous. A living example was far more useful. The great warrior had been returned to his people with all his wounds carefully treated. He would make a full physical recovery. His pride would never recover. The Keth High Council had met in emergency session. For the first time in their long history, they issued a formal apology to another species. They withdrew from the Galactic Unity Council. They announced that any Keth citizen who threatened a human would face immediate execution. It was not enough. The humans knew that. But it was a start. The 3 other species who had supported Vorak's attack did not wait to be punished. Within hours of the broadcast, their ambassadors were begging for mercy. They offered trade agreements, territory, technology, anything to avoid the attention of the patient. Predators from Earth, humanity accepted their apologies. They did not demand revenge. They did not ask for payment. They simply smiled and said they hoped for better relations in the future. That terrified the aliens more than any threat could have. Now the Galactic Unity Council was meeting again. The same chamber, the same floating platforms, the same hundreds of alien delegates. But the atmosphere was completely different. Fear hung in the air like smoke. The humans entered through the main doors. Taiho walked at the front, just as before. He wore the same simple gray clothing. He smiled the same gentle smile. Somi walked behind him, carrying the same small datapad. But this time, no one laughed. No one whispered insults. No one looked at them with contempt. Every eye in the chamber tracked the humans with careful attention. The way prey animals watch a predator that has decided not to hunt them. For now, High Speaker Morel stepped forward. Her crystal body was dimmer than before. The light inside her flickered with nervousness. Ambassador Taiho, she said. Her voice was careful and respectful. The Council welcomes you. We are grateful that you have returned. Taiho bowed slightly. High Speaker Morel, thank you for receiving us. Humanity appreciates the Council's willingness to reconsider our petition. Silence filled the chamber. Everyone knew what was about to happen. The vote that had been denied 3 days ago was about to be held again. A Moran delegate floated forward in her water sphere. Before we proceed, she said, I must ask a question that troubles all of us. Taiho nodded. Please. You could have killed Commander Vorak. You could have destroyed this station. You could have taken revenge for the insults and attacks you suffered. The Moran's tentacles curled with anxiety. Why did you not? The chamber held its breath. Taiho was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft but carried to every corner of the room. Humans do not want war, he said. We have seen too much of it. We have lost too many of our own kind to violence and hatred. Every human alive today carries the memory of wars that nearly destroyed us completely. He looked around the chamber at all the fearful faces watching him. He came to this council seeking peace. That was not a lie. That was not a trick. We genuinely want to build something better than what we left behind. His eyes grew distant. But we are also practical. We know that peace requires strength. We know that kindness without power is just weakness waiting to be exploited. So we learn to hide what we are. We learn to smile and bow and accept insults, all while preparing for the worst. He focused on Morel again. You asked why we did not destroy you when we had the chance. The answer is simple. Destruction is easy. Any fool can break things. But building requires patience. Building requires trust. Building requires giving people the chance to learn from their mistakes. He spread his hands. Commander Vorok made a mistake. The species who supported him made mistakes. We are giving all of you the opportunity to make better choices. That is not weakness. That is hope. The chamber was completely silent. Finally, Morel spoke. The council will now vote on humanity's petition for membership. All those in favor? Every single delegate raised their hand, their tentacle, their claw. Whatever appendage they used for voting, not a single voice opposed. Vote is unanimous, Morel announced. Her voice trembled slightly. Humanity is hereby granted full membership in the Galactic Unity Council. Tai-Ho bowed deeply. Thank you. Humanity accepts this honor with gratitude and humility. We look forward to working with all of you to build a better future for every species in the galaxy. He straightened up and smiled that gentle smile again. We will be good partners, he said. We promise. Nobody doubted him. But nobody was entirely comfortable either. 6 months later, the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Human consultants were now the most requested specialists in council space. Not for war. Humans still preferred diplomacy above all else. But their mere presence ended conflicts before they could begin. Border disputes that had lasted centuries were resolved in weeks. Once a human mediator arrived, pirates who had terrorized shipping lanes for generations surrendered the moment they learned humans were hunting them. Aggressive species who had bullied their neighbors suddenly became very interested in peaceful negotiation. The humans never threatened anyone. They never demanded anything. They just showed up and smiled and offered to help. That was enough. On a distant colony world called Velor 7, a young Velari child walked through a busy market with her mother. The crystal beings floated between stalls, selling food and crafts from 100 different worlds. The child noticed a human woman standing near a fountain. She was teaching a group of alien children a song from Earth. Her voice was soft and pleasant. She laughed when the children made mistakes and gently helped them try again. Mother, the child asked, why does everyone fear the humans? That woman seems kind. Her mother looked at the human. Her name was Bainari, according to the identification badge she wore. She had been on Velor 7 for 3 months now. She taught music at the local school. She helped farmers with their irrigation systems. She had learned to speak the Velari language. Almost perfectly. Everyone in the colony loved her. Everyone in the colony was also very careful never to make her angry. Because, little one, the mother said softly, they are the universe's gentlest monsters. We are all alive because they choose to be gentle. The child did not fully understand. What do you mean? Her mother watched as Nari picked up a crying child who had fallen and scraped his knee. The human woman wiped away his tears and sang a soft song until he stopped crying. Her smile was warm and genuine. The humans have 2 faces, the mother explained. The face they show us is kind and patient and full of love. That face is real. They truly want to help. They truly want peace. She paused. But behind that face is something else. Something ancient. Something that survived a world that tried to kill them for millions of years. When they are threatened, when their loved ones are hurt, that other face appears, and everything it looks at dies. The child shivered. That is scary, yes, her mother agreed. But it is also beautiful in a way. They could rule the galaxy through fear. They have the power to destroy anyone who opposes them, but they choose not to. They choose kindness over cruelty. They choose building over destroying. She watched Nari set the child down and wave goodbye to her students. That choice, the mother said, is what makes them truly terrifying, because it means their mercy is a gift they can take back at any moment. Ambassador Nari turned and noticed them watching. She raised her hand and waved with a warm smile. The mother waved back and tried not to shiver.